What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the Shoot For It podcast. We just covered some MMA. We got the UFC Sydney card review of the predictions for you guys. But now, on to the most important meat and potatoes of this podcast from our own analyst, Gabe GK Caviani, the board man himself. Trade deadline talk. Gabe, what do you have for us, man?
Okay,
Start it off.
I mean, wow. Just first of all, I want to say, this was probably the biggest trade deadline in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other time I would say there was a bigger trade in NBA history was when Kareem, after winning a championship with Oscar Robertson in Milwaukee, got traded to the Lakers. But that was, in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in 2025 right now, and I mean, Luka got traded for Anthony Davis. I never would have expected that. But anyways, guys, we're going to be breaking down over some of the best trades of this trade deadline, some of the worst ones, and some underrated trades that aren't getting enough credit. So
Absolutely.
Everyone knows about the Luka Anthony Davis trade.
We talked about that last time a little
We
bit.
made a separate video for that.
Yeah, watch that for more in depth.
Yeah, that was an emergency broadcast. I got into that pretty heavily. But, yeah, man, there was like 6 20-point per game players traded this trade deadline.
Wow.
Insane. I think that's got to be a record.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
has
think,
to be.
I don't even think it's been close.
Yeah.
Anyways, first one I wanted to go over. You want me to go best to worst? Or
Best to worst is fine,
or worst
I
to
think.
best?
Worst to best, then. Why don't we
Worst to
switch
best.
it off? Yeah.
Okay, so of the good trades, the trade deadline winners, I got 7 of these. I'll try to make them quick.
Yeah.
The Raptors, they lost Davion Mitchell, Kelly Olynyk, and Bruce Brown to acquire PJ Tucker, Brandon Ingram. Those guys are not really like needle movers, but it helps them get in the right direction. The Raptors are desperately in need of help and 3-point shooting. Brandon Ingram is an isolation scorer, 25-plus point per game guy.
Yep.
Get you a bucket whenever you need it, and he's also a great clutch time player.
Yeah.
And this kind of sends. I mean, that was 2 trades. I'm just kind of going over who acquired who. I'm not going to get into the super specifics about all the pick swaps and the minor, backup player moves. But I think the Pels are finally deciding they need to get into full rebuild mode. I think they were hoping to get rid of Zion Williamson in this trade deadline. They did not get to do that. I mean, I think they probably shopped around, called a bunch of teams trying to get Zion off of their roster, but I don't think he has a lot of attention right now in terms of acquiring him in a trade. I think he'll probably be a guy when his contract eventually runs out in like 2 years from now. I think he'll be a free agent guy. Trying to convince a team to trade for Zion is pretty tough. But pretty much, I'm off on a tangent, but the Raptors, they acquired Brandon Ingram. They get a solid score.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker.
It feels like with the Raptors, the BI thing is just like it's really hard for them to track stars. So it seems like for them they'll like try to get someone like Kawhi, they'll grab them on like rent, and they'll try to convince them to stay. So that's kind of what this feels like.
Do you have
with the
that
Raptors.
picture of the Raptors lineup now? I thought it was pretty funny. People are calling them the first super play-in team. I mean, you got Emmanuel Quickly and R.J. Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, who's unlimited potential, and Jakob Poeltl at center. He's a super reliable 2-way player.
Woo.
But yeah, I mean, this is a really solid 5-man lineup. If they figure it out, I think that'll actually be a pretty solid team. Probably for the next handful of years, they can keep this core 5 together. They can make a playoff appearance maybe, but super playing team. I thought that was a funny
that's good.
comment.
Nice.
Moving on, number 6, the Kings. They had a really, really good offseason. Them at the 6th best is pretty, insane considering they ended up getting Zach LaVine and Jonas Valanciunas. So my only question is this, right? Zach LaVine and DeRozan are very familiar with each other. They played a handful of seasons in Chicago with the Bulls.
That's right.
And they didn't do very well. I mean, that's, everyone has been saying the past handful of years that, DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic is not going to work. They should blow up the team. They waited, I think, 2 years too long to finally make a move. DeRozan was traded to the Kings in this offseason. It hasn't been the best. De'Aaron Fox just ended up getting shipped off to San Antonio. I'll get to that in a second. But, so LaVine and Valanciunas has experience with Sabonis playing on the Olympic team together and with FIBA basketball as well. I think he shows up pretty much every year that they have a big time event. So yeah, they got a lot of experience together now. The chemistry shouldn't be much of an issue, considering this is like a pretty big change. They lose Fox, they get Levine, they get Valanciunas, but they still have they didn't have to give up their shooters. So they still have Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray, and you got guys that can plug holes because but yeah, De'Aaron Fox, their only issue now is the playmaking.
Yeah.
They got a lot of isolation scores. They got a few back-to-the-basket guys with Sabonis
Sabonis can do some playmaking, but he
do
needs
some
a more
playmaking.
floor general type guy to help him out.
Right, but typically your playmaker is, dribbling the ball up the court, running sets.
Right.
Sabonis that's not necessarily his strength.
Yeah.
He is a good passer for a center.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's like the best passer in all of the NBA right now, but I think they will figure it out. I think Malik Monk will have to be the X factor here. I think he's going to have to take up more of the ball handling, playmaking position that they desperately need now that Fox is not on the team. So that's pretty much all I got to say about the Kings. I would give them like a B minus.
Yeah.
They maybe got slightly worse losing Fox, but they got.
He was disgruntled,
and
he wanted out. So in those cases, they did the best they could.
Right. And so the breaking news, the probably second biggest trade of the.
It would have been the biggest, but
it would have been the biggest.
It's not that kind of year,
right? The Luka thing kind of outshines pretty much every other thing that happened in the trade deadline. But
in the last decade,
Warriors, they get Jimmy Butler. They team him up with the great Steph Curry. A lot of people call him a top 5 player of all time. I would say maybe top 10. But Jimmy Butler is a 4-team trade. 7 players involved in this trade. They lost Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Dennis Schroeder, and Lindy Waters. This is kind of insane. I think Dennis Schroeder, he was traded to 4 different teams within a 24-hour span. That's pretty insane.
The Rainbow Challenge.
Right, the Rainbow thing. Like, he's been on, a team that has every different color of the rainbow as part of their primary color on the jersey.
Yep.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And he's been good everywhere he's gone. It's not like he's been, a hindrance or a bad teammate or anything. He's just a high-value, consistent point guard that a lot of teams are wanting to come off their bench, or some teams that are rebuilding want him as a kickstart.
Yeah. He's valuable, but he's not too valuable. That's the curse of, this is what happens when you're like that in the NBA. He's he just moves around a lot. He's like Jeff Green. Jeff Green's on how many teams now?
Yes, 11 or something. Yeah, so yeah. Schroeder, I think he ended up going to the Wizards. I don't even know. It was
anymore.
He bounced around so many times. Yeah. But yeah, Warriors end up getting Jimmy Butler. Looks like they're trying to make one last run.
What was the extension he signed again?
Oh, 2 years, $121 million.
Jeez.
He, the main reason why he wanted to get off the Heat is because they were unwilling to give him a $50+ million a year extension for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't expect him when the trade happened to the Warriors to accept the extension. A lot of people didn't even expect the Warriors to offer him an extension.
Yeah.
2 years, $60 million, man.
That's insane.
That is way too much money to be paying Jimmy Butler right now. I believe he's 36 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they really just want to commit to having a 2-3 year stretch.
Curry, yeah. Maybe Steph Curry kind of lit their feet on the fire.
Maybe so. You lose Andrew Wiggins, who's been a really good, consistent player for them. Very defensive minded. Jimmy Butler definitely is a better player than Andrew Wiggins at this time. But Butler is he's 20+ point per game guy when he's actually locked in. As of recently with the Heat, obviously he hasn't been trying very hard because he was trying to force his way out of the roster in a trade. But yeah, Warriors, we'll see what happens. Are they a playoff team? Are they a contender? I think they maybe can make the playoffs, but they're not going to get past the first round if they hold on to this core. And they kept Draymond Green in this trade. That's pretty important for them. I think there's going to be a lot of butting heads between Draymond and Jimmy Butler personally.
Oh, yeah. I saw all the memes about the fights they're going to have.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's going to be a hard team to beat in terms of mentality. And Steph Curry, he can do whatever he needs to do. He's having a little bit of a down year. He's getting older. It's to be expected. Anyways, fourth best trade, I would say, was or team in this trade deadline was the Bucks. They made a handful of moves. I kind of feel bad for Milwaukee fans. They ended up trading Chris Middleton plus A.J. Johnson and 28 pick swap to acquire Kyle Kuzma and Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Jericho Sims. So they got a really solid backup center to come into the game when Rick Lopez and Giannis need some rest. Jericho Sims. He's not, he's not the most polished player, but he's one of the most athletic players in the NBA. Some of y'all may remember him in the dunk contest from last year, and he's a fellow Longhorn. He went to UT. I went to a handful of his games while he was still there. Dude was jumping out of the gym. He can literally get his Adam's apple to the rim. It's insane. But anyways, the big return was Kyle Kuzma, 6'9", solid guard or solid forward. He can rebound. He can defend a little bit.
Not injured.
He's 29, just in his prime. He's definitely better than Middleton at this point after the slew of injuries Middleton had suffered from. But he was a fan favorite, multiple-time All-Star with the Bucks. He was there for the championship in 2021.
Why would the Wizards want Middleton? Just what's going on? What's going on with the Wizards?
I think the Wizards are completely committing to a tank. I think they're literally, at least like the first 25, 30 games, they were worst in offense, worst in defense out of all 30 NBA teams.
They want Cooper Flag.
They want Cooper Flag bad. Everyone does.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be mistaken to not want that guy on your roster. Cooper Flag coming up in the next draft. But yeah, Bucks, I'll give them solid B+, maybe even an A- in this trade deadline. Solid defensive versatility with Kuzma. I didn't even mention. They also made a smaller trade today to acquire Kevin Porter Jr. off the Clippers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Great backup ball handler.
It's a sports term, like slam dunk or ball handler. You call?
Score when Dame Lillard is off the court.
Wow.
So they got backups to
Bucks looking good.
To Lopez and Giannis with Jericho Sims, and they got a solid small forward to we'll see what his offense looks like. He's not going to have to score much. Kuzma on that Bucks squad, but KPJ coming in. They ended up trading Marjan Beauchamp to the Clippers. He's solid defensive minded small forward, but KPJ brings in a totally different skill set that the Bucks desperately need. They need a bench producer that gets up points. So very solid moves by the Bucks.
All right.
And then number 3, I would say, if we're grading everybody, obviously the Dallas, right? They made a big time move with Luka and AD, but I think that the defense minded approach of Jason Kidd, his coaching style, they needed more of a shot blocker, rim runner, rebounder. That can coincide with the 2 centers, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. I would give them an A for sure.
All right.
Even though it's ripping the heart from the Mavs chest, like all the fans. I mean, they're heartbroken after losing Luka. I think they're trying to go win now mode, and Anthony Davis, as we talked about him in another video, but that is a good move for them. I'll give him an A. Second best one, my boy Adam Silver over here. He's
the Cavs.
Second one was Cavs. Okay.
Oh, okay. I forgot they traded Karis LeVert.
Right. They made a really solid move earlier today. That's very underrated. We'll get into our underrated picks later on, but trade George Niang, Karis LeVert, who was a 6th Man of the Year candidate. He's a great backup player, similar to what KPJ will bring to the table for the Bucks. They traded him to get DeAndre Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Niang and LeVert for DeAndre Hunter, a 19-point-per-game player, an elite defender, very consistent. I would kind of give him like a baby Kawhi type of comparison. That's going to be perfect for a deep playoff run with this Cavs squad.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're 5 games above the number 2 in the East Celtics right now. They're like 41-10 or something like that. They're doing phenomenal right now. With this DeAndre Hunter trade, man, they can go the distance against the Celtics or the Knicks, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
They got guys to match up with Tatum and Brown. They got guys to match up with Josh Hart and Anunoby and Mikal Bridges.
They're going to be a lot of fun to watch in the playoffs.
I think this year...
Great cohesive team. The Cavalanche.
The Cavalanche, I like that.
Oh, dig on.
I mean, the Cavs are really fun to watch. They're great overall. They got those 2 big men, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And now you got another defensive-minded guy like DeAndre Hunter. A+ for the Cavs.
100%.
Lakers. This one,
God, Rockets, please don't face the Lakers, please.
Lakers, we were talking about in our
they're so scary.
in our emergency broadcast. That was our latest upload about
Dang,
what
man.
do the Lakers do now that they trade Anthony Davis, they get Luka, and they have pretty much no consistency at the center position or the power forward position. Well, I mean, center. They have LeBron and Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt, who are all playing very well as of recently, but they need a center. What do they end up doing? They go and get Mark Williams, monster center. This guy right here. If y'all are longtime listeners, you might remember I brought up Mark Williams as a potential trade target for the Rockets.
That's right.
I wasn't sure how well Steven Adams would be playing, but he's been playing very well. He's actually our leader in plus minus for the whole squad. Mark Williams, he's 7'2". He has the tallest standing vertical in all of basketball, higher than Victor Wembanyama himself.
That's crazy.
9'9" standing reach. That means just feet planted. How high can you reach? He can dunk like that.
That's crazy.
On his tippy toes, he dunks. Okay, so really good shot blocker, really solid rebounder. The offense is the only questionable part. LaMelo Ball is a bit of a goofy passer. He's been the Hornets' primary facilitator. You get Luka and LeBron, two of the highest IQ players in the game, two of the best passers, with a guy like Mark Williams who can really run the pick and roll well alongside those two guys. He can block shots. I think that's a match made in heaven. I was thinking they would get a guy like Walker Kessler. Mark Williams is cheaper and possibly could be better. The Hornets did have issues with him.
The Lakers could still, not anymore, but they could have still done moves after that Mark Williams.
For sure.
They still had assets.
Dude,
that's crazy. Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and Mark Williams.
The only sad thing is the Lakers lost a growing fan favorite, Dalton Knecht. Yeah, I think he has a lot of potential to be a great scorer in the NBA.
I think that was worth it, though.
I think it was worth it because that's what they need for now.
Yeah.
They want to maximize LeBron and Luka. We'll see how that looks. Jared Vanderbilt is back and healthy.
And Jackson Hayes, right? Isn't he the backup?
Jackson Hayes was the center.
He's the backup now, right?
Was going to be the starter, but
now
now
fine as a backup.
Yeah, he's a backup center.
Yeah.
He's not a starting center, but very athletic, similar to Jericho Sims that the Bucks got.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Lakers again, A+. The Luka trade. That's we're excluding the Luka trade because everybody knows about that already. So yeah.
Well, there you guys go. We have one more segment coming up, which is going to be the more underrated and the losers coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll be coming right back at you with our conclusion. See you guys soon.
You'll always be with me.
Change the game without even knowing.
And you'll always be my brother.
How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be there for the last ride. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got?
And we are back. I'm going to be going over the rest of the trade deadline. And I'm going to go over the losers and some of the underrated trades that maybe aren't getting enough recognition for the impact they're going to be making on these teams.
Yep.
And I'm going to see what Juho thinks, especially about the underrated ones.
All right.
Okay, so let's go with the trade deadline losers. I only really have two. No one really had a bad trade season. Not particularly, but let's go with number two, the Timberwolves. They are still struggling after the Towns trade. They call Anthony Towns call Towns plus DiVincenzo to get Julius Randle and picks. That did not make them better. It did not even make them, past the second round team. They made it to the Western Conference Finals, and now they're barely going to make the playoffs. I don't have very much faith in them beating anybody, really, in a 7-game series. I feel pretty bad for Minnesota fans because they finally felt like they had a chance. They've had some decent squads. There was a 25-year playoff drought that they had, something close to that. I'm just kind of eyeballing it.
My personal favorite Minnesota squad was the Kevin Love squad when Kevin Love was thebomb.com.
Yeah, K-Love, bro, one of my favorite hoopers ever. They called me Big K. That's why Board Make K, Big K.
Yeah.
Sniper Tower. That's what they used to call me. I used to play just like Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Because I'm a heavier guy, but I'm like a bruiser, great rebounder. I'm a great shooter.
Yeah.
We're gonna be uploading some videos out in the wild.
Yeah.
showcasing some of the skills we got.
Absolutely.
Coming up soon. But Timberwolves, second most disappointing trade loser because they didn't make any big time trades. So yeah, I mean, similar story to my number one disappointing team, the Phoenix Suns. They had all these rumblings about trading Kevin Durant, trading Bradley Beal, and they ended up trading Nurkic. So they traded Yusuf Nurkic, their starting center, really solid all-around guy.
He
Definitely
wasn't doing that well on the Suns, though, right?
not really because he's the fourth option.
Yeah.
But he's a great rebounder.
Yeah.
That's unquestionable. Anyways, they traded Nurkic plus a 2026 first-round pick for Cody Martin and Vasilije Micic.
Okay.
Really not anything.
Micic from the Hornets?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And
Okay.
I'm like, I don't understand, man. Like, why make this trade if you're not blowing up everything?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I'm just a messenger.
Because I think they're trying to just collect a bunch of picks with the Durant trade and the Bradley Beal trade. Neither one of them got traded. Now, I mean, a lot of reporters around the NBA right now are calling it a very toxic relationship. All the players are angry. Kevin Durant actually said there was no talks between him and the front office about actually trading him. And there was all these rumors going around. They're all swirling.
Suns have always been a mess. Their front office stinks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Bradley Beal because like everyone expected him to get traded. He was like, okay, they're gonna move me eventually, right? They're gonna move me eventually. It's almost like the same feeling as if you're like a really good college player and you're waiting for your name to get called in the draft. It's not and you don't get drafted.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of feeling, in my opinion, where it's like you're waiting for your next opportunity, you're excited for it, and you're preparing your family, you're preparing your kids to move to a new place, start over fresh. Bradley Beal, he's had a very tumultuous career with injuries. He would lead the NBA in scoring one year. And I think he was just ready for a fresh start.
With Bradley Beal, do you think it's that no trade clause that's just destroying him, honestly?
I think that is part of it, but I mean, I also don't think a lot of people wanted Bradley Beal necessarily.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red flags with the guy.
And the contract's horrible.
The contract is a little too expensive. It's like $28 million or something along those lines. I mean, I was thinking about it earlier. Like, if the Rockets made a crazy trade and got Bradley Beal, he would be a decent six-man for us. But we don't need that type of guy. A lot of teams that are trying to make a playoff push have like pure scorers already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of why he didn't get traded. Kevin Durant obviously was a much higher price, target if they were going to make a trade. I think they did hear out a lot of offers from teams, but I think the Suns also just had too high of a asking price. But
it sounds like with the Suns, the big thing here is that they didn't do anything, that they didn't make any trades.
Well, they traded
biggest
Nurkic.
weakness.
They got worse because they traded Nurkic. If they didn't make any moves at all, they would have been okay.
Yeah, but that's still bad. They should have been making active moves, but
I
they
think
didn't
so.
do anything.
They kind of just shot themselves in the foot now. Because they don't have as
And now their fans are mad. Everyone's mad at them because they couldn't do anything.
The players, the front office disappointed.
Yeah.
The fans, man. I mean, like, they have so much star power and they're just not performing at the level they were expected to.
Yeah.
Largely due to injury, but still.
Yeah.
They have, one of the brightest stars in the NBA, Devin Booker.
The brightest star is that the Rockets own the Suns' future.
Right, yeah. So, those are my two biggest losers.
All right.
The Suns and the Wolves. Wolves just because they didn't make any moves.
Yeah.
That were, I don't think they made any moves at all, but the Suns have made a move that made them worse.
Yeah. Okay.
So, also the Grizzlies. I have two more teams that I forgot.
Oh yeah.
The Grizzlies. They ended up trading Marcus Smart and Alex Len. That made them slightly worse. I mean, Marcus Smart didn't play a ton. As of recently, he's been injured. But I really thought they were going to try and go after a small forward. I thought the Grizzlies were the type of guy that would acquire a DeAndre Hunter or a Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, okay.
They need a small forward that can score, but they don't have a lot of money to work with. Yeah. So that's why they ended up dumping that Marcus Smart salary. Alex Len is just, a veteran. He's probably on like the veterans minimum, which is like, $3.5 million. So they just dumped off that contract and They didn't get a small forward. It's a money forward move. It doesn't necessarily make them better or worse, but they needed to make a change to get over the hump and be a playoff contender, like a second, third round contender. I mean, I think they're going to make the playoffs for sure, but they need a closer that's not undersized like John Moran.
You back up off me. Man, you don't sit your lanky ass down. Bottom line, I will knock you the fuck.
Even with the jumping ability and and the speed, he's light and he's short. So
you need a Swiss Army knife that can shoot for sure.
Right, and like a Brandon Ingram would have been perfect for them, but it just would have been too expensive.
Yeah.
They dumped off those contracts because Jaren Jackson Jr., their best player as of right now, most consistent player in my opinion, he was a defensive player of the year. They're clearing up money to extend him in the offseason.
Right.
So that's why they made that move to lose Smart. Doesn't hurt
money
them.
Move.
Doesn't hurt them very much.
Yeah.
So finally, the Pelicans. Not much to say.
Poor Pelican fans. You gotta talk about a sad fan base. At least the Suns got stars.
Yeah, I mean, I had high hopes for the Pelicans.
We did. We both did.
I mean, Jose Alvarado and CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion. Their only question was the center position. Yves Missy, the rookie out of Baylor, has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal this year. He's actually in the Rookie of the Year conversation. But I think what they're trying to do right now, they're trying to build around Trey Murphy, actually. That's why they got rid of Ingram. Zion will probably be the second option eventually over time, unless they get rid of him in the offseason. We'll see what happens. Zion was not traded in this trade season. But the Pelicans lose Ingram. They don't get very many benefits. That's all I have to say. The Suns are just worse than they already are. And they only have like 7 wins.
Pelicans.
So, sorry, New Orleans.
Yeah.
I hope y'all, get well soon.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens. It's like, isn't it like Mardi Gras is coming up?
Yeah, Mardi Gras is coming up. Drink to forget, guys.
More vodka, drink, drink, drink! Please drink responsibly.
Drink to forget. Okay. So this one I think is what you're going to be interested in.
Yeah.
Some of these are already kind of mentioned. But these are my underrated trades. Kevin Porter Jr. to the Bucks.
Great addition.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much they needed a backup scorer off the bench. They have a high usage rate with Giannis and Dame, and Lopez and Bobby Portis are just kind of spot-up shooters.
Yeah.
When Giannis and Dame go off the court, I'd love to see what KPJ can bring to that squad.
KPJ is what people wish D'Angelo Russell was.
Well, I mean, D'Angelo Russell back on the Nets.
Yeah.
He's playing much better.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell plays well in smaller market teams with less expectations.
Yeah.
KPJ, I think, is probably similar.
Yeah. He's going to be a good backup. A good little microwave
for sure.
kind of plug-and-play guy.
For sure. So, that was my first underrated trade. I would say that's like a B+ for sure. Kings acquiring Valanciunas for a backup center behind Sabonis. Another one I mentioned earlier. Very underrated trade. How are you going to out-rebound this team?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Especially with Levine. He's a high flyer. He's not a great rebounder, but you got Valanciunas and Sabonis locking down at the paint.
You think you're going to play together?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really big lineup, like what the Mavs got cooking up right now with Davis and Gafford or Lively. You're going to have to go big every now and then against those type of teams. We'll see what happens. I mean, Valanciunas is getting pretty old. Sabonis is absolutely cooking everybody right now. He's in his prime. Fantastic backup center acquisition for the Kings.
Great addition from the Kings.
That's all I got to say on that one.
All right.
I would say B. I'll give that a B. And finally, Bogdanovich to the Clippers.
Oh, okay. Did not see that.
Bogdanovich from the Heat, or the Hawks, I mean, gets traded to the Clippers in exchange for Bones Highland, Terrence Mann, and I believe there was like some pick swaps or something.
Bones Highland gets moved quite a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, Bones Highland. I mean, he is a bucket. I mean, he just doesn't have the opportunity. He has some issues on defense. He's not a great passer. He's just a go out there, get me a bucket type of guy. Terrence Mann didn't look very happy in his role with the Clippers. He is a very good athlete. He's like a 6'4" point guard, very long arms. He can play good defense against pretty much any guard or forward in the NBA. But
Bogdanovich is fun on the Clippers.
Bogdanovich on the Clippers, they desperately needed some shooting, and they got it. So I'll give that one an A. And they didn't have to give up too much. Bones Highland, Terrence Mann,
Not
weren't
bad.
producing very much.
Yeah.
Bogdanovich is like a 17-ish point per game guy. Great catch and shoot player.
Absolutely.
So those are really my bad trade. That's my bad trade analysis and my unexpectedly good trade analysis.
Perfect. Well, I saw one thing in your notes before we end this video, Gabe. It says that Adam Silver is planning to change the quarters possibly to 10 minutes.
He was go ahead.
What do you think about that?
So he was on an interview with the great Rich Eisen. He's a great show. He's been in the sports business a long time. It was just like a thought. It wasn't like anything. There was no like
just food for thought.
There's no progression. Like they're making moves to actually make this a reality.
Mm-hmm.
But Adam Silver was asked, what are some things you could do to increase the ratings of the NBA? Because as of right now, the ratings are kind of they're dipping. As of recently, especially like this whole season. But a lot of people are attributing that to the NBA Cup. It's confusing. The All-Star game format has been changed, which we'll get into later on. Mm-hmm. And the new collective bargaining agreement. Everyone was saying, this was before all the trades went down. This conversation happened. Mm-hmm. The new CBA with the second apron luxury tax going over your salary by a certain amount means like you have to tax like a certain percentage on top of already paying a fine. So it was something that people thought would make it discouraging to actually make big time trades happen. But what I think is what the CBA change actually did was it made it harder for smaller market teams to actually keep superstars like Luka. Because if like Luka, I don't know if everyone is familiar with this, Luka, he's missing out on like $140 million by not being on his hometown Mavs team because he got all NBA team selections multiple times for them. He's 5 years been an all-star every year in his career except maybe the first year or second year. So it kind of discourages you from keeping these big time players because he was going to be getting paid like $85 million a year. Mavs don't have that kind of money. That's why they moved him. Anyways, this question about the 10-minute quarters thing, right? That would take off 17% of the total game. You know, the NBA is a 12-minute quarter, 48-minute game. This question proposed to him was 10-minute quarters, 40-minute total game. That would make the time slot for an NBA broadcast go down from about 2.5 hours to 2 hours flat. And my thoughts on this are, I mean, outside of just like, you know, older players saying this hurts their legacy because, or younger players saying this hurts their legacy because they have less time to get their stats. My issue with this is that there's going to be a lot less advertising slots. Like for every game, there's going to be less commercials. That's less revenue for smaller teams. That's less revenue for the entire NBA as a whole because when they negotiate these huge media rights deals with streamers like Prime Video and ESPN and TNT and all that, they have to take into account the amount of time it's going to take on a TV schedule, right? How much time are the fans willing to invest to watch whatever basketball game it is? Cutting the game from 2.5 hours to 2 hours doesn't really make a difference for diehard fans that are going to be constantly watching their home team no matter what. But maybe that would help like a random casual fan watch a team they're not a fan of. Right?
Yeah, well, I was saying like pros and cons. The only one of the main pros with this is that I feel like it would speed up the game and there'd be a lot more content, like because there's less time, so you have a lot less wasting, I guess, of time. And like, one of the worst parts of basketball, especially, is the ending. Sometimes where you're just shooting free throws. But I also totally see what you're talking about. That's the biggest problem I saw with this is ad revenue. It's not going to be able to make as much money with these shorter times because, especially with American sports, the way it works, timeouts and breaks is when you put on ads. So I see where you're coming from with that.
And with this collective bargaining agreement, 51% of the profits go to the players and 49% go to the 30 franchises in the NBA, and they split it equally. And if you have a smaller media rights deal, the whole NBA loses money, but that also means the players get paid less.
Yeah.
So these smaller market teams like the Charlotte Hornets or the Minnesota Timberwolves, Milwaukee Bucks, Sacramento Kings, right?
Denver Nuggets.
The Nuggets, right? These slightly smaller market teams, they rely more heavily on this revenue sharing than, say, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
They have so many people, the Bulls even, they have so many people in their cities that they can get, they have a wider target audience to get people to show up to the game physically. So these smaller market teams, they rely more on their revenue sharing from the media rights deals. The larger market teams don't worry about that as much because they have more ticket sales, more merchandise sales, more concession sales, just because of the amount of people that are going through the stadium on a daily basis.
All right, well, there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed our podcast this time. Next time y'all see us, we'll be going over the actual results of the UFC, finalizing all of the different NBA trades going on. We'll talk about that. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys liked anything, please tell us in the comments, and we'll see you very soon.
Don't forget to shoot for it. Shooters always shoot.